Back in March of 2023, I was pretty much dead broke. I lost my father back in 2021. When I was in Bali, I kind of hit the bottle and, didn't work because I didn't have my true passion, didn't know what was actually going to fulfill me.
So talk me through kind of that moment when it was kind of a low point for you, when you were backs against the wall and you just had to make it work.
It was having that mindset of like, you are enough, you are good enough.
Hello and welcome to the Freedom Career Podcast. Today we have our very first guest, Mr. James Harpa, a very good friend of mine, an absolute powerhouse in the world of high-ticket sales and the founder of the Remote Sales Accelerator. James has broken free from the 9-to-5 and the rat race through mastering the art of sales and getting people to make life-changing decisions. Today we're going to dive into the wisdom that he has to help you learn and master this art of sales for yourself and take inspiration and wisdom from his journey so you can create the freedom that you're working towards as well. James, welcome, my friend.
Thank you for having me, brother. That was a great introduction.
Awesome, man. So, James, talk to me through the journey of how you've arrived here in Bali as the founder of the Remote Sales Accelerator and what initially drew you towards sales as a vehicle for you to be free.
So it all started back in 2021. Me and my partner, we wanted like a different life. So we came out to Bali. I had this idea of becoming this crypto, Forex trader as a lot of people do. And I failed miserably. And I'm so glad that I did because it actually pushed me back into sales. I went and got hypnotherapy and they just said like, it wasn't for me, the trading. It didn't fit my personality. And yeah, someone just gave me an opportunity to get back into sales. And they said, do you have an agency? Do you have appointment setters? Do you have everything? I just said, yes. And it was just myself. And yeah, we just went with it. And yeah, just me and a VA got them to like $90,000. And
wow.
That's pretty much how it started and how I got my name obviously out into the space. And it's not been easy. There's been a lot of ups and downs, but that's pretty much how it started. I had to sell to survive. Back in March of 2023, I was pretty much dead broke. I lost my father back in, 2021. So when I was in Bali, I kind of hit the bottle and didn't work because I didn't have my true passion, didn't know what was actually going to fulfill me. So I didn't have that purpose until I found sales again, and it gave me that life and the oxygen to move forward. It brings back memories now, thinking like what I had to do to dig myself out of that hole so I didn't have to go back to the 9-to-5, and that's what scared the shit out of me. So I just had to make it work, brother.
I think everyone that you'll meet in Bali or has a relative level of success, adversity is kind of the prerequisite to get here. So talk me through kind of that moment when it was kind of a low point for you, when you were backs against the wall and you just had to make it work. Take us back there and kind of what you had to tap into within yourself to actually make that work and turn things around.
It was having that mindset of like, you are enough, you are good enough, knocking doors, obviously in the UK in the rain and the cold. And then you're questioning yourself, can you have a conversation, on the laptop with someone in Bali, and you're like, hang on a minute, you've done this and this, but can you actually do this? And it all comes down to mindset. I had to literally tap into my inner self, look myself in the mirror and just say, look, you can do this. It's either you do this and you make the money to survive and stay in Bali, or you go back to hell. And it scared the living daylights out of me, brother. I was petrified of anxiety. I was literally crying like some mornings, like, how am I going to make this work? And through determination, grit and pain, I just did it. And I remember closing the first deal, the 24th of March, 2023. Guy was in Dubai. And I was like, shit, I've got it, man. I can do this. And then the next day, and then it just snowballed. And then the belief system was back, and then invested in many, many courses, mentorship, and it just started to snowball.
Amazing, man. I think it's so important to recognize the character traits that we have and we build through those hard times, right? And I know that you a big philosophy, and I would like to talk about your philosophy around sales because I know it's very unique and built through the adversity that you've got around the belief shifting aspect of that.
Yeah.
So like, what was that core belief shift that you felt in that moment in time and through that journey that you now help people make the shift themselves with?
Yeah, it's, for me personally, it's like when you're having a conversation with someone and everyone, like, if you want to talk about sales, like, what do we think of sales as someone who's brought up in the UK? We think of the sleazy, car salesman, the double glazing rep. But,
sales is icky.
Yeah, but sales is everything. Like, and we're all learning that us out here in Bali, as online entrepreneurs, we need to be able to do sales. And, going back to the question, it really made me realize that way of selling isn't this way. It's actually having a deeper conversation with someone and find out, like, why are they actually on this call? Like, can I really serve this person? Do they really need my help? And you can only help someone if you have the ability to get them to feel open, calm, to share their true problems. Because if you can never really get down to why they're actually on that call, it's like, how can you create a big enough gap for them at the end to be like, yeah, I do want to make a change and I do want to have your product and service. So instead of thinking logical in the mind, sometimes a lot of like new closers, they'll butt heads with people on the call, and it's because they take the conversation up here from a logical point. But when you go down to a more internal point, a place from love, empathy, and you genuinely want to serve that person, help that person, there's now a deep connection. And when there's a deep connection, there's a true movement towards them actually wanting to hit their goals.
Powerful stuff, man. I think most people kind of listening to this will be in sales of some kind. They're either a solopreneur, entrepreneur that's doing the sales themselves, or either want to get into, or currently in a sales role themselves and trying to really nail down their skill set. So what do you think really helps those people stand apart from the people that might come into it from a place of not manipulation? I don't want that to be the word, but obviously trying to get something out of someone versus those who come from a place of service. Like, what would you say to those guys and how you would navigate them to support them on the journey of making more sales?
First of all, like, there's this stigma that goes around like that anyone can just go in and sell anything. Well, that can be correct to some point, because if you are a natural born salesperson, you have the confidence, you have the gift of the gab. But are you actually there to truly serve that person if you haven't done your homework on what it is that you're actually selling? You need to truly know that the product and the service that you're offering actually aligns with that person. So instead of just jumping on an offer and be like, I'm just going to close some deals, I'm going to make some commission, actually do your homework, understand what it is that you're actually selling. But most of all, understand why that person has come on the call. Because if you can master that in the discovery phase, there shouldn't be any objections, because you've had that deep connection on the call and they've actually truly opened up to you. So for any new closer who's focused on just trying to get over objections at the end, it's like, well, why would you try and get over objections at the end if you can truly move that person in the first 15, 20 minutes to like, yeah, I do need your help. This is exactly what I'm looking for. When you slap $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 price tag at the end, like, the shock shouldn't be as much, because they've actually said to you, I can't get to where I want to be without someone's help. I need a clear roadmap to be able to get there. So the only objection really should be is price. It shouldn't be, I want to think about it. It should be, I want to do what you have, but I can't afford it, or I can afford it, and let's get rocking and rolling.
Awesome, man. I love that. And I think that's kind of most people's challenge, right? Around getting to that point of, and I know this from my experience, and I see that in my clients as well, around feeling there's so much pressure. There's so much, they wait to say the price and they wait to kind of get to that point, and then all this pressure builds and kind of hold their fingers crossed of like, are they going to say yes? Right? Which is a completely wrong way to do sales, right? How do you think, and what's your opinion on this around the price tag, right? Because there'll be some people listening to this
Yeah.
around, there's no way I could ever charge 5,000, 15,000, 10,000 for an offer. What would you say to those people to kind of shift their beliefs in the pricing, or like to elevate their price tag of their current offer to make that kind of, go out there with more confidence, I guess?
For me, it's pretty simple. It's their own internal belief system, because they haven't actually ever made possibly an investment into themselves. So it's like, if you've never paid for mentorship yourself, how do you think that you actually have the confidence to ask someone for $5,000 or $10,000 over the other end of Zoom? So if you're sat there and you're questioning yourself, well, have you actually got the right skill set and the ability to actually build what it is that you're doing? So go out there and get the knowledge, invest in yourself. So then when you actually ask for $5,000 or $10,000, you have true conviction and confidence to obviously receive that money, because you know, one, you're going to deliver, and two, I wouldn't be where I am right now being able to serve you if I didn't invest in myself.
It's really interesting, right? Because this is what I say to my clients as well around it's the energy transmission between one person to another, right? Conviction, to have that level of conviction in what you do is the most important thing, right? The price tag is just an expression of the value that you're providing.
Yeah.
And what I see is that if there is, it mirrors what you say, an element of doubt, an element of uncertainty in your tone, in your energy, when you're having that conversation, especially right at the moment in time when you say the price, everything can fall apart there and then. As a couple of things on that, there's one of my mentors taught me that sales lives on the top of it, or the edge of a pin. So it's such a delicate skill, because if you can do everything right, but if there's an ounce of doubt in the moment you set a price, it can all fall apart. And another thing that I really think is important for the listeners, and this goes for everyone, whether you're just getting started or you are in this kind of growth phase, is around being the client you want to attract. So life is a mirror.
Yeah.
And if you are in this phase where you're trying to charge 5, 10 grand or trying to raise your prices, there's a direct correlation between your level of investment and what you can charge. I've seen in the last 5 years of being in business and supporting people in this journey. And I think it's just a really important thing to look at, right? Exactly what you say. Can you look in the mirror and without a shadow of a doubt say, what I am, the price, the investment level matches the value that we're going to provide. And that value is based on your experience, your level of credibility, the case studies that you've got, and your kind of likelihood of success, right? And this kind of leans into the next part, which I'd really like to talk to you about, the inner work, inner game. How do you see inner game, how it correlates with your success, not only in sales, but in business and life as well?
It's everything. And I want to go back a couple of pages of what you just said. Like, sales is like a pin. So if sales is like a pin and it can just pop like that, the most important thing that you can be on a call is truly present. Because if you're not going to actually listen to what they're saying. And this is what I've been doing with the guys lately. It's like, if you are not in a room where your mind is calm, I've just obviously had an ice bath right now. So I feel very calm because I wanted to come prepared for this. So if you're not calm, how can you truly listen to what someone is saying? Because there's an emotional chemicals in your brain that is wondering. You could literally have someone say something, give you a scenario. Well, that just didn't work for me, 2 years ago. And I just don't feel it can get there. And you go, okay, well, what is the goal now then? They've just given you a statement of fear and uncertainty. But if you wasn't truly present to actually read the label or behind what they're actually saying. So when you say, obviously, you don't feel obviously that it could work for you then, like, what do you actually mean by that? Well, I tried it. And I was like, okay, well, how long did you try for? Was there other people that got success in the program? And now you're just digging to find out what is behind the statement of their actual opinion of what they're saying. Because then if there's fear there of uncertainty, then it's going to come up obviously on the end. So just deal with it there and then, instead of just cover coating it and asking your next question. And this is where a lot of new closers coming into the space, you do need a script because you're brand new, but you don't want to sound scripted. You have to be truly present, deal with what they're saying right there and then in discovery, because right there is exactly what you need. And this is what I focus on with the guys is listen, people wear masks when they come to a call. 1, ego. 2, fear of themselves, whether they can do it. And it's your job to be able to peel that mask back and actually see, like, who is this person that I'm actually really speaking to today? Have they put a front on? Like, for me, I speak to a lot of traders. They say, yeah, I've made $10,000. 5 minutes later, yeah, it was obviously on a funded account. I didn't actually ever get to phase 2. I actually blew the account. So a statement from the ego to now like, oh, you actually never generated any income. Because they wouldn't be on the call if they were making $10,000 a month. Why would you waste your time speaking to someone?
Yeah.
And it's pretty simple. So yeah, for any new closers, truly, truly present. And if you have to wear headphones because you want to get rid of any distractions, then do that.
Amazing, man. That's such a practical skill as well, right? Because again, how you show up. And one of the best pieces of advice I got from sales as well is around like the second someone comes on the call is when the container's opened. If you're jaded, if you're kind of sporadic, that immediately weakens your position. And sales is a position of authority, right? They need to come in and kind of see you as person that they can lead them, which kind of leads us into another line of questioning, which I love because it's something that we talk about a lot. And I know that you've been in containers yourself, when leadership has been a huge part of your journey, leading yourself and leading others to be able to lead people through a transformational conversation to get them to essentially make life-changing decisions. And that's what I love about the work and the philosophy that you have, because you don't come of it from a place of traditional sales. It's come a place of coaching almost and service around getting that human being that sat right in front of you to make a life-changing decision, probably the hardest decision they've ever had to make in that moment in time. So talk to me around the importance of leadership, self-leadership, and how that kind of translates to sales and your ability to, get people to transform, essentially.
Yeah, it's a great question. And it's like, you have to stamp things out on a call. So if someone says, I think I might, you already know they have obviously limiting beliefs. So when you say to me, Ryan, you think that you can get there, like, what do you mean by that, buddy? Like, if you can believe it, you can achieve it. So right now you need to be careful of what you're saying, because your words are going to cast spells, because the universe is listening. So you say, I am going to get there. And now all of a sudden you are an expert, you are a leader, because you're questioning why they're saying what they're saying. And they're like, oh my God, this is the kind of people that I want to work with, because he is correcting me on the call with my own belief system. And it takes a lot of confidence, but it just takes time, and if you're sitting with someone, very, very common is someone will turn around, like I had a gentleman today, like, I'm making 25K a month, and I'm like, okay, cool. Like, if you don't mind me asking, buddy, like, why don't you just double down on what you're currently doing? He was working on some kind of airplane mechanical stuff. And I'm like, why trading? Because I haven't got no time. So imagine now you're a brand new closer and you're making, let's just say 3K a month, yeah? Mm-hmm. Someone hits you with 25K a month for that they're making, you're like, fucking hell, this guy's absolutely killing it. Because now you're letting your own internal belief system get involved in the conversation, because you can never imagine yourself earning 25K. So if you just turn around and say, oh, that's pretty cool, buddy, like, but can I ask, like, why do you want to get into trading for? It's not easy. It's pretty risky. Oh, I want more time. Oh, I'm doing 70 hours a week. Okay, kind of makes sense now. So what's the goal then? And then it's like, you're obviously a pretty successful guy. And then you start rubbing their ego, and it's smart of you to actually like jump on a call and ask for help, because I'm sure that this, study after study shows that people that come in and get the support, they're always going to get to where they want to go a lot faster and a lot quicker. So now you've positioned them as successful, you position them as smart, but they've told you that they haven't got no time. So they want a new vehicle, which is going to give them their time back. But if you've got those belief system that, oh my God, this guy's making this money, you now don't come across confident because you're letting yourself get involved in that third space of conversation, which is limitations that come across through that.
Fascinating. And again, there's so many kind of dynamics that happen in a conversation where I think what's kind of evident to me now and the listeners around is just the level of experience that you have around the awareness, what's going on in that type of conversation. What was something that you had to be called out on? So obviously our ability to call people out is our ability to receive being called out, right? I've been called out tons of times by people. You called me out, which I welcome, right? So talk me through kind of your journey of what was a pivotal moment that you had to be called out on your own bullshit for a pivotal moment of transformation for you.
Yeah, definitely. So imagine this guy in sales for 10 years in the UK. Pretty much smashed every record that you could think of, right? Done millions and millions and millions of pounds in corporate sales. And then comes into remote sales and thinks he can put all those skill sets into remote sales. I got absolutely destroyed. Slapped to smithereens because I had an ego. I was like, I don't need to invest in my education. I don't need to know this. I've done millions of pounds in face-to-face sales where someone's knocked a door and 2 hours later, James is walking in with a briefcase and closing a deal for 20, 30 grand and walking out the house. That's proper, traditional, hardcore sales. So why do I need to get mentorship?
Okay,
Massive ego. Then I got slapped to smithereens. And I was like, all right, do you know what? I got told, it's like, you ain't good enough, mate. And that fucking hurt. Because when you've been doing so well for so long, you're like, fuck me, man. It's either you listen to these people that are above you and you invest and you get the right education to learn what you don't know, because you literally just don't know what you don't know. And that was the biggest pivotal moment, because I made a $6,000 investment and I literally got it back within 2 weeks just by implementing what I knew.
Right. What would you say to that version around investing into yourself again, or for the first time, to get them to kind of even essentially trust themselves, right? What would you say to that person?
I can answer it like I would on a Zoom call, and you can just call it out, because some people are very skeptical. Unfortunately, especially people from the UK.
Yeah.
So you could just turn around and say, like, look, what is the absolute worst situation that can actually happen here? Is you pay this $3,000, you never see me ever again, and you never get anything from me. Let me ask you this. Can you still put food on the table and you're still going to have somewhere to sleep? So if that is the absolute worst thing that can actually happen and you're not going to die, how does that make you feel? Now you're basically saying, right, I am that confident that I know who I am. I'm already telling you what the worst case thing can be. But what's the best case situation? Are we going to get you closer towards your goals, or are we actually going to get you further away? What is it, buddy? Let's get you rocking and rolling. Do you want to use Visa or MasterCard?
Mic drop. I was like, if I had money, then if you had something to buy, then I would have bought it.
Yeah.
I get it. And this is really important, right? I think part of the kind of sales journey, but it's important for us to kind of realize that sales is just psychology, right? Sales is just helping someone find the answers and essentially see where they're at beyond their own bullshit half the time, right? And I think a lot of people can live in denial of where they're at. And one of the things that is around the energy of transformation is around consideration, right? Consideration of kind of what the default path is. Of if you continue to do the same actions as you continue to do, what are the results? What results are you going to get? Is it moving you close to your goals? Is it moving you away? It's a binary.
Yeah.
Right? It's not, oh yeah, it's kind of is. It's like, it's yes or no. And I think that energy, and again, for the listeners as well, the energy of having that understanding that every single moment of every single day, in the present moment, you are making a conscious or unconscious choice to move closer to your goals or further away. The guidelines, or kind of the framework that I kind of use in my world, in my life, and with my coaching, is fear or faith. But you're either feeling this faith in yourself and this faith in the universe and faith in something greater than yourself, that you are on track, that you are worthy of your goals, you are worthy of the things that you are working towards, or you are feeling fear. You're feeling fear that you aren't good enough, that the people that say that you shouldn't be doing the thing are right, that there is scarcity, there's a lack of money, there's a lack in all areas of life. And it's, for me, it's a real binary, and it's a practice. It's not you get there and you live that all the time, because with a new level is a new devil. And this just goes to the listener around, if you're at a point in your life right now and you're feeling fear, you're feeling this kind of overwhelming, anxious emotions right now that you know you should be doing something that you're not, this is the time to actually bring awareness to that and take action in that. And I'd love to know kind of how you kind of perceive that and your opinion on that, and kind of what you think is probably a character trait. I'd like to kind of bring it back to character now. Like, how do you cultivate that? And what is it you need to cultivate to consistently stretch yourself, to consistently tackle a new devil? Because it's so fucking easy to just say, fuck it, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to get a job. I'm going to stay on my 9 to 5, and I'm not going to fucking face that. So what do you think it is that you've had to build and that you recognize in the most successful people within your own business academy, helping the closers?
Yeah.
And also in people that you've served before.
So there's two obviously audiences that we're speaking to here. So we've got people that are already in the online space that are in this, and then we've got the people that want to get into obviously online sales, remote sales. So
and entrepreneurship.
Yeah. So for me personally, I can just talk on myself, is fear. Like every day I wake up and I'm just shit scared of going back to being that person that I once was. So literally I operate from fear, which I don't think is healthy, but it's got me to where I am, and it's something that I have to work on. And every day just not actually fulfilling the person that I know I can truly be. You know, get into my deathbed and being like, did I fucking give it my all and actually become the person that I know I can? Because I am way, way off where I want to be right now. And for anyone that has those doubts, like the only way it gets easier is just by doing. And like I've had a couple of conversations with a few people in construction this week who want to get into remote sales, and I've said to them, look, you don't want to just burn the ships and just go all in. You have a mortgage, you obviously have a little one. You know, you need to balance the boat so you can learn the skill sets while you're still earning money. Because I think where a lot of people go wrong, especially getting into online business as an entrepreneur, they just go fucking all in. But you have to look at your own personal situation. How much of a roadmap do you actually have available for you to actually stay afloat if you go all in? So if you need to work at Uber to be able to make $2,000-3,000 a month, but you're going to get half your time back so you can focus on your business, don't let go of Uber, because that is actually helping your psychology to stay strong, to keep building the business if you have bills to pay. If you're 18, 19, 20, 25 and you've got no worries, you live at home with mum, fuck it, burn the boats, go all in. Because guess what? The worst thing that can happen is you fail and you learn from the mistakes and you go again.
And you end up straight exactly where you're currently at.
Yeah. And you've learned a shitload in their practice as well.
I just want to honor that as well, man. Like to openly admit that and to openly recognize that you aren't necessarily showing up as the version of who you know you have potential as is super important, right? To just bring awareness to that and acceptance of that. And something that one of my biggest journeys has been in the journey of compassion. And it's something that I speak about quite a lot in my work and with the Brotherhood. So the listeners, we run a men's group here in Bali, which has about 200, at the time, 270 people in the group and 30 to 50 people every Saturday. Most people struggle with this internal conflict around potential and then actually being fulfilled in the journey and kind of enjoying that process is this gap. And one of the biggest lessons that I've learned is around this journey of compassion to the journey, compassion to yourself. There's always going to be a goal. There's always going to be a version of yourself that is going to be stretched, that's going to be fitter, faster, stronger, more money, and operates better, right? That always exists. The higher self is always there. And I think what most people kind of fall into this trap of is believing that they have to be that version all the time, or it is a destination.
Yeah.
And like, once I get there, I'll stay there. And the purpose of this podcast and why I'm doing this is to share my philosophies and way of being, because it is a way, it's a place, it's a being. And showing up every day with this pursuit of better, but also appreciating where you're at every day and being grateful for all the things that you have in your life, and ultimately showing yourself compassion that yes, you have goals, but you are doing your best I think makes the journey a hell of a lot more enjoyable, more fulfilling when you can learn to integrate that. I think this hustle culture that's pushed, I think has a place.
Yeah.
Hustle, hard work is important, but also to actually learn how to enjoy that journey without consistently beating yourself up about not being perfect. So I want to honor that, to bring that, because I think it's an important message that I want to share. And for the listeners, just to show yourself compassion in your journey, because the reality is you're exactly the same position. You either look at it from a place of, wow, I've achieved so much, or, oh my God, I'm not where I want to be. I'm not enough. Yeah. And that's the journey. We'll go deeper on that in other episodes, I'm sure, but I just want to honor that. So let's take it back to kind of, if you were in this space of wanting to get into the world of high ticket sales, solopreneurship, right, where sales is going to be an essential part, what would you focus on as a foundational skill set for that individual? If you could reverse time and give it the quickest speed, and it might be kind of relating back to what you do inside of a sales accelerator, what's the foundational skill set that all people need to succeed in sales, in your opinion?
Work ethic. Right now, if there's a business owner that's got a CRM, which is where obviously leads are created, stored, and you can obviously go in there and ring them. If there's 20,000 leads in there right now, and you're a young guy, you're confident, you have some kind of scripts, ring every single lead 3 times a day, if you can legally, because things are changing. Because work ethic, always beats talent.
Say that again, because that's a big one.
Yeah, work ethic will always beat talent. So the person that goes and knocks the most doors in a day is going to have the most opportunities of that door opening. When that door opens, they may not be the most skillful person, but let's say it's raining. That other person might feel sorry for him, and they might go, do you know what? My back door does need actually changing. I'll have a quotation, because he knocked more doors because of his work ethic. That person put more dials in. So yes, talent is needed, but how do you get talented that's doing something? By getting rejection, and understand that's okay to have a no. Because the more no's you get is the closer you're going to get to a yes. It's a probability. And the more no's that you get, the more talented you become of accepting a no. And most people can't deal with rejection. That's why sales is not for everyone.
That is such a profound lesson. And my experience around this, right? I started online coaching in March 2020. I had the idea, didn't launch my business properly until kind of November. I was a salesperson, been in estate agency, recruitment, door-to-door, telesales, inbound sales, customer service, outbound, auto dialer. I've been in sales my whole life pretty much. Yeah. I was a horse tipper at one point, which was that's a story for another time. And it's such an interesting recognition around rejection, because that your exposure to rejection, your willingness to be rejected, is going to be the determining factor as kind of how many times you can get rejected, right? And that work ethic.
Yeah.
For 2.5 years, I was stuck in business where no matter what I did, I'd work tons of hours, but I would never actually move the needle forward because I was doing busy work. I was busy doing work that didn't actually move me close to sales because I didn't want to get rejected. So I invested £30,000 into financial freedom courses, to learning how to build a course, learning how to do attraction marketing, everything that would basically, this is very unconscious as well, avoid me saying, hey bro, do you want to jump on a call to buy my thing? 2.5 years until I spoke to one of my mentors and I said, excuse me, I think I've got a fear of rejection. And he gave me a very, very amazing exercise about neutralizing that fear. And then within 8 weeks of doing that, I made my first £10,000 a month.
There you go, bro.
And it was like, I was scratching my head of like, how have I spent this much time not knowing that? But this is the important recognition. Wherever you're at in your journey right now, people don't know that they've got a fear of rejection most of the time. deep down they do, but it isn't until they're exposed to a strategy and saying, do this. And then you say, have you done it? And they come back with a story as to why they haven't done it. That's when we can really start to unravel, because the reality is, and you'll probably agree with me, business is simple. Strategy is very, very simple. Do this, do that, do this, do that.
Just numbers.
Yeah. But when the individual doing the thing is what creates the mess. The psychology of the person, the fears, the traumas, all of the stuff that they throw into that is what creates this mess. So talking to someone right now, and hopefully this has brought stuff into your awareness. So like, you probably do have a fear of rejection. Most of us do at some point. We've been rejected at some point. My one was when I got released from Brighton Hove Albion. When I was 15, I was on the books for professional football, got the letter, you've been released. Boom. My world dropped. Everything, my whole veil of what I thought my life was going to be fell. And in that moment, it was like, I'm not good enough. I've just been rejected. I've worked on it, brought awareness to it, probably still there for me, continue to do the work. But what would you say to the person now that's listening to this and be like, oh shit, I probably do have a fear of rejection. How would you get that person to overcome that so that they can have that unlock that I had and actually have their biggest sales right now, this month, and go into that from the second they listen to this? What would you say to that person?
Get them to sit there and write down why they feel that they're scared of rejection. Empty what's in here onto paper. And they just need to know one thing, right? You're not going to be able to sell to every single person. And it's okay for someone to say no. And the longer that you are emotionally connected to that person saying no to you, is costing you money. Because you will take it into the next call because you can't let go of the rejection. So sit there and ask yourself, why is it that I am actually scared of rejection? And it could be internal. It could be could be from a parent. It could be from a relationship. It could be obviously when you was at school, you may have felt you was an outcast, so if you want to get into sales, you need to have thick skin. You need to be okay with getting basically comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's why I say it's not for everyone. Everyone can learn the skill set, no problem. But can you actually do it and have a conversation and then get the rejection and then go to the next call? That's where the magic actually happens, because it's all mindset. It really is. So if you can leave that call and disconnect from it and then go to the next one and be truly present again and truly present again, because if you're not actually focused on the money that you're making from that sale, which is called commission breath, then all of a sudden you're actually serving that person. And if you did your best to try and serve that person, why would you be worried about the rejection? Maybe it just didn't align. Maybe the reason why you got a rejection is because you was not truly present and actually listening to what they're actually saying, and you're trying to push something that they don't actually need, because you're not actually giving like the actual pillars, the solutions to their problems, because everything comes down to listening to what the prospect is actually saying. And if you can't understand that, then that's why you're going to get rejection, because they're going to say, I need to think about it, because they're confused. Because you don't come across as a leader. You don't come across as an expert. So it's okay. If you're new, you're going to get it. You have to deal with it. And there is nothing really that you can do to get over it. You can go maybe get hypnotherapy. I've had hypnotherapy on various other things, but like, sales is going to make you or break you. And if you can learn this skill, you will never have to worry about making money ever again, because it's recession proof.
I think that it's a very profound lesson, right? It's kind of this like underpinning law or truth of business and entrepreneurship and sales, right? You are always selling, right? You're either selling yourself to a girlfriend, or you're selling yourself to a business opportunity, a prospect. And to tie this kind of in, it's like if you don't make sales, you don't make money. But if you don't make money, you don't be free, right? So it's like money equals freedom in a lot of sense. There's different connotations to freedom, and freedom is subjective, but This is a practical podcast around entrepreneurship as well, right? We will dive into the spirituality and consciousness as it goes, but the foundation is that if you want to be free, from the 9 to 5, you have to make enough money to make that happen. Whatever that is for you, right? I think practical advice is around runway, having enough runway to give yourself space to operate without anxiety, stress, scarcity, lack, which only feed neediness in a sales conversation, which is the most repellent energy that you can have. But it's a prerequisite of freedom. So anyone that's listening to this, if you want to be free, if you'll already be free, maybe you just need to get more no's. That is simply the answer. Get more no's. Have more conversations. Get ghosted more times. Offer people onto calls. Get into sales conversations and go for no. Because if you go for no, in the sense of the more no's I get, the more yeses I'm going to get, that might be the biggest unlock that you can have in your life right now, because you might already have the skill set that you say, right?
Yeah.
You might already have that expertise. You're great at what you do. You get amazing client results, but your income or your consistency in your results have these big highs and lows, because the second that you can take your foot off the gas to avoid rejection, you do. And that's funny, because that's a mirror for me as I say that.
It's great. Maybe their goals are not big enough. So as you know, my vision board is on my laptop.
Me and James both have the same laptop screen, which is our vision boards, by the way.
Yeah. To all the viewers, like, your goals need to be big enough. You know, have your vision board on your laptop so every day you look at it. Ask yourself this, like, what is it that you want? Yeah. And what the fuck are you going to do to get there? Is that simple? Like, why do you want that thing? And if you truly believe that the goals that you want to achieve are worth doing, you're going to do whatever you need to do. It's that simple. Like, for me, I had to sell to survive, so I didn't want to go back to the UK. So I had to be okay with rejection, you know? So it's like, what is it that scares the crap out of you? And if you don't want to go back to a place, and let's say you are an entrepreneur right now and you've gone from the 9 to 5 and you are here, it's like, what is it that I actually need to do to get to this next level? And a lot of the time, it's actually, in my opinion, it's capital preservation. It's actually preserving cash in the right places, and actually sometimes feeding the business more than the lifestyle. Because for people in here, in Bali, Dubai, we sometimes want to be seen to be doing well. So we spend money on the nice villas, we spend money on going to the nice beach clubs, all the stuff to get great content, but is it actually feeding your business? And we were speaking about it this week. Invest in the VA, invest in the appointment set, invest in the business, which is then going to give it more oxygen to be able to produce more income. So if you're at that point now where you are scared, ask yourself this, like, are you feeding your baby? Because your business is your baby. So are you feeding yourself and your ego? Or are you actually feeding the business in silence? Because people don't know what you're investing in the business because it's not cool. But going to a fancy beach club and, you know, having the nice stays and everything to look great is amazing. And it is. We do obviously live a great life out here, but you also need to understand when the business is more important than looking successful. And that's what I had to do. Eat shit, leave out the door for 6 months and just close, stack.
And that was a lesson I had to learn upon arriving back to Bali. Super important. And I want to kind of bring this round before we kind of close up. The whole world of spirituality, consciousness, universe, manifestation, right? Get used to it, because it's going to be a very, very common conversation on this podcast, right? Practical entrepreneurship, consciousness, spirituality, anything that's going to bring us into a more fulfilled life. I know that you're big on the universe and trusting the universe. I just want to kind of get an understanding of what role that has played in your journey around manifestation, trusting the universe, and trusting something that's greater than ourselves before we kind of tie this up, because it's something that we resonate on deeply, and it's something that I want to have a conversation around in this podcast. So the listeners, no matter where you're at, if you feel called, if you feel connected to something that's greater than yourself, Bali is a beautiful place for this.
Yeah.
Right. Most people resonate on that level in Bali because we have a deep spiritual aspect to our life. So what role has like spirituality played in your journey as an entrepreneur, as a man, individually, specifically, and in life in general?
I can truly say that Bali has shed a new skin for me. I'm not the same person as I was when I came to Bali. So I am very grateful because it really is the island of the gods. The amount of inner work that I've done here, from the kundalinis, the breathworks, the meditations, the kambos, and the future stuff that I'm going to do as well. You've done obviously ayahuasca. That's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
But
only a side of episode, guys.
Like, energy is so important. If you can feel energy, you understand what is serving you and what is draining you. So when you're in a particular environment, if you can feel that from a spiritual connection to the environment that it isn't serving you, then you have to remove yourself away. You have to go and find a calm place which is going to serve you. And I think the more you step out of the fast westernized world, you come to, even though Changi was busy, but you see things a lot more differently. You really understand yourself a lot more of like, you don't want to go out and party and do all these other things because there's so much other beautiful things that you can do, which feeds your soul, which then makes you vibrate at a higher frequency, like going to the beach and walking on the sand, which sounds crazy to some people, but we get it because we do it. We've gone to obviously the beach when we were kids and we were playing obviously on the sand. Why did we feel so good in the ocean with the feminine energy, walking on the sand? Why is it we used to love doing that? Maybe because there's a spiritual connection, and that's why kids are so happy when they go to the beach. So these little things that we have as a gift right now, and we can do that every day. Someone back home obviously can't do that. They're obviously dressed, to go to work all day with their thick boots on. They don't really know what grounding is because they think it's woo-woo. If they were to go and walk on the field for 10 minutes, I guarantee that would de-stress them. If they go and have an ice bath, which again, is a spiritual connection. It's you letting go. It's you saying, I'm okay, I'm not going to die. The cold is my friend. And I am going to suffer for the next 2 minutes because it's going to make me a better person. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, man. And this podcast will be the woo without the woo. There's been an element of that. It's enriched my life in so many ways. And if you're on the journey and you're connected, amazing. Let us know in the comments if you're watching this on YouTube. But if you haven't experienced that, don't knock it till you try it.
Yeah.
Right? Just be open-minded, because me and you are both the same, right? Grew up in England, very British culture, everything that goes with growing up as a man in the UK, the party scene and what comes with that. And there was a time when I thought it was absolute bullshit. But the more I kind of opened my mind and experienced it for myself, it enriched my life in so many ways and allows beautiful connections to be made and just a more enriched reality that you can create, in my opinion. So to round this off, the principle or purpose of this podcast is around freedom and helping the audience become freedom creators and create freedom in their lives. So what does freedom mean to you now? And how has that changed over your journey through entrepreneurship and manhood?
So for people that may see me on Instagram, they may see that I live this incredible life for Instagram. I'll just be completely transparent, but we work hard.
Oh yeah,
very hard. And freedom to me right now is not having to wake up in the cold, in the rain, and having to drive hundreds of miles a week, and just being able to open my laptop and choose how many hours that I want to work for the week. you know, because I'm not going to sit here and say I'm completely free. You know, I'm making 100K a month, because that's BS. Like, I'm working towards that. But freedom is having the choice to take that laptop and go to Singapore, to go to Thailand, to go to Lombok, because that laptop now is my office. I don't have to travel to a place. So that laptop, even though I work hard, me and that laptop and my girlfriend can go anywhere we want, and we can still generate income. And to me, that is the pathway that I'm on to freedom, because eventually, we know this, we will scale down the hours. The bigger we build the teams, the less that we're going to do. And for anyone that's coming into the online space, just expect that it's going to still be a full-time shift, maybe a lot more 12-hour days when you first start out.
Thank you so much, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure. I hope listeners enjoyed that. And where can they connect with you, James, and kind of what's the next steps? If you are someone listening right now and you either want to get into the world of high ticket sales, or you want to improve your sales skills for your business, where can they reach you, and what would be the next steps?
Yeah, best step would be just, you know, go on to my Instagram, go and have a look at all my highlights. I'm very transparent. Go and consume some of my content on YouTube, which I'm currently building. Or just, you know, get in my DMs and we'll have a conversation and see exactly where you are, and see, you know, if this is the right fit. Because as I said, it's not for everyone. And if you can't handle rejection, then, just obviously stay what you're doing.
Thank you so much, mate.
All right.